Good evening. I will call the City Council of Missoula council meeting to order. It is August 29th, 2022. And if you would please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, thank you. Marty, if you could do the roll call and then also go through how to join the meeting remotely, please.
I am happy to do that. Oh my goodness, my voice is a little loud out there tonight. So Stacy Anderson.
Present.
Sarah.
I wish you would say, can you hear me?
Hang on, Jim, can you please mute? All right. Sarah, think she's absent. Carlino?
Present.
Contos?
Here.
Hess?
Present.
Jones?
Present.
Jordan? I think Kristen Jordan is absent this evening. Mike Nugent?
Present.
Jennifer Savage?
Present.
Cheryl?
Present.
Vasika?
Present.
And West?
Present. Can you mute Jim Nugent? I think that might be him. It's not muted.
It's Jim. All right. Looks like we have 2 council members absent tonight and 10 of you present, so we have a quorum. And let's go through how to find us on the interwebs. Oh, I'll share my screen here for a second. All right, if you want to join tonight's meeting and participate, open your favorite browser and search for the City of Missoula. Will probably be at or near the top of your search results. You'll land in a beautiful page with a beautiful picture of our community, and below that picture is going to be a meetings button. Right here, it's in orange. It's the second button in. You'll click on the button, and that will get you to our meeting page. Top of our agenda are the instructions to join the meeting. There is a link to join the meeting. You might be prompted to download the Teams app and enable your camera and your microphone to be used by Teams to participate. If computers aren't your thing, you can always call in. The phone number to call in to our meeting is 406-384-6960. Teams will prompt you for a phone conference ID, and the number that you'll enter here is 387-736-445 and the pound sign. Again, that phone number is 406-384-6960, and the phone conference ID number is 387-736-445 and the pound sign. Teams will prompt you when you call, but you can press star.
Testing, testing. All right. Go. All right. All right. Can you hear me now, Marty?
Yes.
All right. Very good. We have minutes from August 8th, 2022 to approve. Were there any changes to those minutes? I'm looking online in case anybody has their hand raised. Seeing none, they will stand approved, and we will take public comment on non-agenda items. So nothing that we're actually hearing on our agenda tonight. You can comment on anything not on the agenda. Come on up and please say your name and trying to keep it to 3 minutes, please.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the council. My name is Kevin Hunt. I reside at 308 Parkside Lane, and I come before you at this time because I read with great interest that the council had sent back some proposed questions. Certain councilors wanted to be able to ask of the prospective interviewees for, or prospective interim mayors to be selected from among those who have applied. One of those had to do with whether the applicant would consider changing the manner in which the head of MRA is appointed, whether, for example, requiring council approval. And there was a very odd reason that I read was given for why a majority of the council decided to censor that kind of question and send it back for review, that it doesn't represent the views of a majority of the council. I'd like to quote for you section 52 of Mason's rules that you operate by, which is entitled Equality of Members. It states, quote, "In public bodies, the equality of members is presumed. It would seem that for any democratic group to be able to operate, acceptance of the principle of equality of members is essential. Unless that equality is recognized, there's no basis upon which it can be determined who or what number has authority to speak for the group and to make its decisions." I want to emphasize the last sentence it has, which is, "Equality seems essential also to secure the acceptance in good faith of decisions of the group," end quote. I'd like to suggest to you that each and every one of the members of this council has an equal right and ability that can't be quashed by a majority of the council to ask any question of an applicant that they deem to be of a primary interest to their constituents in the ward they represent. You are elected not only to serve the city, but to represent your constituents of your ward. And there are wards in which a very major issue among councilors' constituents is the manner in which MRA is comprised, how they make their decisions, and that the appointee of the head of MRA isn't subject to confirmation by the council. And for a majority of this council to say that an individual counselor can't exercise their equality among you and their right to represent their own constituents violates the principle. Every tract of parliamentary law I know of, Jefferson's rules, Robert's rules, Mason's rules, I found it shocking, as a matter of fact, and I'd like to suggest to you that you couldn't enforce it anyway if you wanted to. So I'm imploring you to permit any counselor during the interviews to ask any question they feel is of primary interest to their constituents of an applicant, as long as they ask it of every interviewee. And to do otherwise is just going to say that a majority of this council is abusing its power, oppressing the rights of the minority. And the two primary purposes of every tract of American parliamentary law is majority rule, but protection of the rights of the minority. And you will be destroying that, and you will be violating the principle of equality of members if you, in fact, a majority imposes a requirement that no counselor can ask a question that hasn't been approved by the majority. So for that reason, I appeal to everyone. I feel the sense of fairness of all of you to take a different path, because it's not democratic as Mason's rules states. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment on items not on the agenda?
My name is Travis Mateer. I work downtown, and so I, on a daily basis, see the failure of this city and the county to deal with chronic homelessness. And so as we're reviewing the 10-year plan to end homelessness, in which I'm actually quoted, and as we are looking at why this community should be voting for the $5 million crisis services mill levy, I think it's really important to be realistic about what's happening. This is the year anniversary of Johnny Lee Perry being shot in the back. He was shot in the back by sheriff deputies, so that's a county issue. But recently, Dave Strohmeyer, one of your former colleagues, said that the county and the city should really be more in alignment. When it comes to accountability, I agree. Absolutely. There needs to be much more accountability, whether it's the city or the county, when it comes to what we're doing with homeless services. When we're dealing with tax increases that are double-digit from the city and the county, I think there is a lot of alignment when it comes to policy and when it comes to failure. I sat in a coroner's inquest and I watched Johnny Lee Perry bleed out, all right, after he was shot in the back. Now, to be fair, they did shoot him 4 times with non-lethal. So I did watch all of the body cam footage that was shown during that coroner's inquest. And I really questioned the crisis intervention training that's being given. So 50 yards away with the amplified microphone, Johnny, put the knife down. Johnny, put the knife down. 30 minutes. And then they moved in and they Johnny Lee Perry also assaulted Sean Stevenson, 2 dead black men in this community that I really hope more people know about. And they will by the time I'm done. Thank you.
Any other public comment on items not on the agenda? Good evening, Mr. Moore.
I'd like to comment again on some TIF matters.
You could just state your name for the record, please.
Bob,
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I thought you had said it. And when I look at this brochure, that's totally 100% incorrect. The worse I get. I'll read this one tonight. Public-private partnerships make the fund grow. Early in a district's life, the MRA encourages new private projects in the district by investing in parts of private projects that benefit the community. We have a habit of anything coming out benefits the community. These investments include things like sidewalks, street lighting for safety, community infrastructure like water and sewer lines, environmental remediation, historic preservation, and deconstruction that makes the material keeps the material out of our landfill. That's another big positive. Always to be saving the landfills. That's what landfills are for, to take trash. Investing in public-private partnerships is necessary to build the revenue to fund public projects later in the life of the district. So, anybody picking this up, public-private partnership. Anybody believe that there's really a partnership here? And the average of the development that you fund or give is around 10%, 15% maybe. So let me ask you, like the share of profit the Stockman Bank received. I've forgotten all their numbers. I think it's like $2 or $3 million, not sure. But it was a substantial amount of money. So I wonder how much the city has obtained from this ownership of part of this fund. The money is given to Stockman Bank. I wonder how much money went to the hotels. Was that all funded just to provide funds or whatever else? Supposedly, if you read all of this, it talks about it's going to be for the future fund, for the ensure a future fund. There's a gas station over on, don't hold me to this, over on Jefferson and some other highway. And he had a I don't know what you call it, had a, where you wash clothes beside of his operation of the well, of that. And I guess he wanted a casino. So he comes to the fine city mayor and I guess council and I guess MOA. He gets I think it's $50,000 to help him transfer his laundromat, that's what you call it, to a casino. But we need a casino, about like we do another fund to give away.
I think we're over 4 minutes, Mr.
I request that you look at some of these things, not from a standpoint of how we can spend it, but how we can not spend it and still have the same result. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room that wants to provide public comment on items not on the agenda? Come on up.
Good evening. My name is Liam Seymour. I'm a resident of Ward 3. A little over a month ago, the Front Street properties were the topic of a council meeting where tenants from those properties and from others came to ask for any kind of support possible from this council. Maybe it wasn't the right place. Maybe there was nothing to be done, and I don't want to speak for those tenants of that property, but I think it would have been nice to have a little more support in this matter. Some more acknowledgement that, yeah, even if there was no way to stop it or to slow it down, that there were people out there who saw them and their struggles and were trying their best for some kind of creative solutions. In that meeting and in a committee meeting the week before, one of the owners of the property repeatedly said that this whole process of paperwork and forms would take at least 6 months, and that they had no intention or desire to remove any of the tenants until then. This idea was pointed to often in the following discussion surrounding the property, with comments along the lines of, well, yeah, 6 months is at least a little bit of time for people to start finding other housing. The tenants at the Front Street units received their notice to vacate at the beginning of this month, more than 4 months before when they were led to believe they would be asked to leave. I know there wasn't a contract or a memorandum of understanding or anything like that, but I hope that we can all see this like it is. They lied about how long people could stay in their housing. Terrible. I said it last week and I'll say it again, but I think that for the amount that the housing crisis gets talked about here, that it's just becoming normalized. It's bad out there for tenants. They can let the units become blighted, they can jack up the rents by 30% with no change to the units, and they can come to the city council meeting and lie about how long they're going to let you stay in your housing. I know all of you have a really hard job, and I know that it's made even harder because of things at the state level, but you gotta understand that it's bad out there for tenants. We know you can't do everything. We know that in some realms of housing, we're just going to have to go out after other levels of this system. But there are absolutely things that can be done in Missoula, things that we can try. You got lied to by people. We all got lied to by people in this room in a council meeting. And I hope you're as angry about that as we all are.
Any other comments on items on the agenda from anyone in the room? We're hearing somebody needs to mute their remote. Okay. For anyone who is attending virtually, if you want to give public comment on items not on the agenda, please raise your hand. Not seeing any raised hands. Okay, so we'll go forward with the agenda. Marty, if you could go through the committee agenda, please, next on our items.
I'll be happy to. Just a sec. All right, let me share my screen so folks can follow along with me. All right, we do not have a city council meeting next Monday. It is Labor Day weekend, and so city council is scheduling committee meetings for this coming Wednesday, the 31st, and September 7th. All of our committee meetings are held via Microsoft Teams. We publish a committee schedule. It's actually on the same page as the council agenda that I showed at the beginning of the meeting. The information to join all of our committees is at the top of our committee schedule. It's also on all of the agendas for these meetings that are published on our website, on our public meeting platform. So with that, let's talk about what committees we're going to hold. Committee of the Whole will meet this week on the 31st of August, meet from 9:25 to 9:55, and they are going to continue discussion of the mayoral applicant interview questions. The Public Works and Mobility Committee will meet on the 31st from 10:10 to 10:30, taking up a construction agreement with Western Interstate for the deconstruction of the Western Images building at 1359 West Broadway. The Climate Conservation and Parks Committee will meet the 31st, and they'll be taking up the Grow Safe Missoula update and the mayoral approval of the U.S. Economic Development Administration grant to fund a river access in Caras Park. That meeting will be from 10:45 in the morning till 11:45 for an hour. The Housing Redevelopment and Community Programs Committee will also meet this coming Wednesday from 11:15 to 11:35. They will be taking up the Women's Business Center Agreement. Public Safety, Health and Operations Committee will meet this coming Wednesday from 1:50 to 2:30. They'll be taking up the purchase of a utility truck for the police department and a resolution regarding the proposed creation of a Missoula local government building special district. And this is in association with the city and county's acquisition of the federal building, or the former federal building. The Land Use and Planning Committee will meet next week, Wednesday, on the 7th of September from 8:30 to 8:45. City Council is holding a public forum on Missoula County's application to do a pallet shelter. And this meeting at Land Use and Planning will be to brief the City Council on that public forum prior to the forum taking place. And the Committee of the Whole will meet on the 7th Currently, we're slated to meet from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And that meeting's purpose is to interview people who are selected this evening to fill the mayoral vacancy. We may adjust the time to be longer or shorter depending on how many folks are selected for an interview this evening.
Thank you, Marty. And next, if you could go through the consent agenda, item 5 on our agenda.
I would hang on just a second here. Let me share my screen. A little more real estate here. All right. Oh, thank you, whoever admitted that color. Right, tonight's consent agenda, it looks like we have 6 items. The first, as always, is to approve accounts payable. This is the city's bills. City Council approves all of the bills and the checks that get issued by the city. Tonight, Council's being asked to approve accounts payable in the amount of $1,895,112.41 for checks that are dated tomorrow, August 30th of 2022. Number 2 is to approve and authorize the acting mayor to sign the professional services agreement amendment number 1 with WGM Group for the Cooley Street and Stoddard Street water main replacement project at a cost not to exceed $25,411. Number 3 is to adopt and authorize the acting mayor to sign a resolution to support the intent of and project contained in the 2022 South Avenue Safe Streets for All grant application and commit to providing up to $1.5 million in local funds as match necessary to complete the project elements located with, I think that's supposed to say within the current city limits. Number 4 is the first reading and preliminary adoption. City Council is setting a public hearing on September 19th, 2022 on an ordinance granting TDS Metrocom LLC cable television franchise here in Missoula. Number 5, although a quorum wasn't present, the HRCP that's the City Council Committee, recommends that City Council set a public hearing for Monday, September 19th to review the City of Missoula Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report. It's commonly known as our CAPER report. It is required by the federal government as a condition of receiving a Housing and Urban Development Fund program funds, and this is for program year 2021. And finally, number 6 is to approve and authorize the mayor to sign a contract with Central House Strategies in the amount of $38,000 for lobby services for the 2023 Montana legislature.
Thank you, Marty. Is there any public comment on the consent agenda? And I'll look in our virtual attendees. Please raise your hand if you want to provide public comment on the consent agenda. Seeing none, any counselor want to divide the question? Ms. Vasika.
I would like to separate 5.6 and vote on that separately.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, I wasn't listening. Said the numbers. Anyone else? I thought I saw another hand and got confused. Okay, thanks. If you can divide out 5.3 and 5.6, Marty.
Let's do 5.1, 2, 4, and 5 first. So voting on the balance of the consent agenda, except those 2 items have been separated. Let's start the roll with Anderson.
Yes.
Carlino.
Yes.
Pontos.
Yes.
Hess.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Nugent.
Yes.
Savage.
Yes.
Cheryl.
Yes.
Vasika.
Yes.
and West.
Yes.
Great. Would any of you like to change your vote? That's 10 ayes and 2 absent. Now let's move to item 5.3. This is the resolution on supporting the Missoula Safe Streets and Roads for All grant application. And we'll start this round with Carlino.
Yes.
Contos.
No.
Hess.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Nugent.
Yes.
Savage.
Yes.
Cheryl.
Yes.
Basika.
No.
West.
Yes.
And Anderson.
Yes.
Would any of you like to change your vote? That's 8 ayes, 2 nays, and 2 absent. And finally, let's move down to item number 6. That's a legislative lobbyist contract. We'll start this round with Contos. It's the lobbyist contract, Mr. Contos.
Yes.
Hess.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Nugent.
Yes.
Savage.
Yes.
Cheryl.
Yes.
Basika.
No.
West.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
And Carlino.
Yes.
Would any of you like to change your vote? It's 9 ayes, 1 nay, and 2 absent.
Thank you. We have no comments from city staff, city agencies, community forum, neighborhood councils, boards, commissions, or authorities. We do have 2 proclamations tonight that I will read. Pull it up here. The first one is a proclamation for Suicide Prevention Week. Whereas this proclamation recognizes suicide as a community-wide problem and suicide prevention as requiring a community effort, and whereas Montana's suicide rate is the 3rd highest in the nation and is ranked among the top 5 states with the highest rates of suicide for the past 4 decades, and whereas since 2017, Missoula County has suffered 143 suicides. And whereas suicide by firearm accounts for 50% of all suicides in the U.S. and 62% of all suicides in Montana, and guns stored in the home are used for suicide 40 times more often than for self-defense. And whereas it is important to support our new National Suicide Prevention Lifeline call center here in Missoula, along with our new mobile response units who can effectively and empathetically intervene in crisis situations. And whereas our community will support suicide prevention efforts to the maximum extent possible with initiatives like Project Tomorrow Montana, which works to reduce Missoula County suicide deaths and attempts through educational programs and evidence-based policy. Now, therefore, in coordination with the National Suicide Prevention Week, I, Gwen Jones, acting mayor of the city of Missoula in the state of Montana, do hereby recognize the week of September 7th through the 13th, 2022 as Suicide Prevention Week, and it is signed by me on the 7th day of September, year 2022. And we have a second proclamation that I will read. This is a proclamation regarding International Overdose Awareness Day. Whereas the city of Missoula does affirm and acknowledge the harm and hardship caused by drug overdose, and whereas we recognize the purpose of International Overdose Awareness Day as remembering loved ones lost to overdose and ending the stigma of drug-related deaths, and whereas we resolve to play our part in reducing the toll of overdose in our community, which claimed the lives of more than 1,484 Montana residents between 2009 and 2020, with countless more affected forever. And whereas we ask the Missoula community to join us in recognizing International Overdose Awareness Day, as we saw a 77% increase in fatal overdose in 2020 in our county. And whereas we affirm that the people affected by overdose are our sons and daughters, our mothers and fathers, our brothers and sisters, our neighbors, and deserving of our love, compassion, and support. Now, therefore, I, Gwen Jones, acting mayor of the city of Missoula, do hereby recognize the 31st day of August 2022 as International Overdose Awareness Day, and it is signed by me. I believe we have someone here to speak to it. Who should be, if you can raise your hand, please, if you were going to speak to this from the health department or city county health department. Ms. Bakshevich, did you want to speak to this? Raise your hand. I'm not seeing a raised hand, so that's all right. We'll go forward, but these are important issues covered in these proclamations, and I appreciate that they've been brought in front of us. All right, tonight we have no hearings under final consideration, but we do have several public hearings. State law and city council rules set guidelines for inviting community comment in a formal way on certain issues. Following a staff report on each item, the city council and the mayor invite community comment. City council holds a public hearing open for a week, and then we vote unless there's a requirement for final action on the night of the public hearing. We have several motions tonight. We'll do 9.1 first, Marty, and then we'll do all of the 9.2 sections, if that's all right with you. So 9.1 is the Street Lighting Improvement District assessments for fiscal year 2023, and we have Ms. Rabine here to present a little staff report on that.
I don't know if you'll be happy or not that I don't have PowerPoint. I know you see a lot of it.
Just speak to it. That's fine.
So tonight I'm bringing to you the city's street lighting improvement district assessments. City of Missoula has had street lighting districts for a lot of the course of our history. These districts are located throughout the community. They're not consistent from block to block or house to house. And the districts are, but the lighting isn't. So last year, the Northwestern Energy installed some LED lighting in these districts. They converted the lights in the districts to LED. And City Council directed Public Works and Mobility to take a look at these districts to see if there was any savings in these districts that might go toward improving the lighting in a particular district. And during the course of this last year, Public Works and Mobility determined there isn't enough savings to address any of the gaps between block to block or house to house in any of these districts. And so we are proposing this evening that City Council apply 50% of that windfall savings that occurred in fiscal year 21 this year and 50% next year. That means that this year's assessments total $269,457. Last year's assessments were $368,471. And so this means that there'll be a 27% decrease when you look at these districts as a whole. And I've had a couple of questions from the public about these dollar figures. So these dollar figures represent the total for all of the districts. And generally, folks, when you look on your property taxes and you see a street lighting district there, the assessment method is generally in these districts the amount of front footage that your property has in the street compared to other properties that are located in the district. And so they are apportioned by district and then by the front footage, not square footage, front footage that a house bears to the other properties in the district. So I am here to answer any of your questions. Next year, we'll be applying the remaining 50% in order to reduce any other increases in this district. And then the following year, it'll just be on a cost basis of, what the charge through is from Northwestern Energy for the lighting. We just pass it on through to the district and the ratepayers. Oh, I should also mention that, lighting does provide a general benefit to the city. So the city's road district number 1 does pay for 10% of the cost of lighting in lighting improvement districts every year.
Thanks, Marty. So I'm going to take 9.1. We'll just go through the whole sequence for 9.1, and then we'll do 9.2. For 9.1, is there any public comment on the street lighting improvement district assessments? Check online. Seeing none, are there any questions from council on this item? Seeing no raised hands, I would look for a motion from Mr. Hess.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. I move we adopt a resolution of the Missoula City Council levying and assessing a special assessment and tax on the lots, pieces, and parcels of land situated within all special lighting districts of the city of Missoula, Montana, in the amount of $269,457 to defray the costs of street lighting in special lighting districts during the fiscal year 2023.
Thank you. Any public comment on the motion that is in order? If you're virtual, you can raise your hand. I'll call on you. I'm not seeing any raised hands. Any council comment? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote. Marty?
Okay, on the resolution levying assessments for street lighting districts, we start this round with Hess.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Nugent.
Yes.
Savage.
Yes.
Cheryl.
Yes.
Basika.
No.
West.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Carlino.
Yes.
And Contos.
No.
And would any of you like to change your vote? That is 8 ayes, 2 nays, and 2 absent.
Thank you. And next we have item 9.2. There are numerous motions underneath this. This is entitled Resolution Levying Assessments for Park District 1, Road District 1, Tourism Business Improvement District, and Downtown Business Improvement District for fiscal year 2023. And Marty, did you want to introduce these items?
I'd be happy to. So last night, the city, or excuse me, not last night, last week, Monday, the city council adopted the budget and work plans for the Road District number 1, for Park District number 1, for the Tourism Business Improvement District, and the Downtown Business Improvement District. The statutes for these particular districts require that city council, following the adoption and work plans of the budgets, do the tax levies and set the method of assessment, at least in the case of Park District number 1 and Road District number 1. And so that is what you're being asked to do at this evening's public hearing. Last week, you approved a work plan in the amount of $7,202,828 for Park District number 1. The action this evening that you're being asked to consider and that we're holding a public hearing on is to levy the taxes necessary to be able to fund that work plan and budget. We do have an exhibit to the resolution that indicates the assessments attached to tonight's agenda that shows what every property owner is subject to under that district. Likewise, Road District number 1, last week you approved a work plan and budget for Road District number 1 totaling $6,882,820. Road District number, I think it goes without saying, the Park District number 1 goes to fund park activities. Road District number 1 funds things in the Public Works and Mobilities Department, street division, the engineering division, Central Services Vehicle Maintenance or Fleet Services Division. You're being asked to set a method of assessment, and again, we have a list of the properties and the amount that folks are being assessed. Since the beginning of both of these districts, the method of assessment has been to assess the work plan and budget dollar figures against the proportionate share each property has, their taxable value has to the remaining properties in the district. So the larger your taxable value is, the more you pay in this district, and the smaller your taxable value is, the smaller your proportionate share of those costs is. For Tourism Business Improvement District, the city of Missoula, like many communities and all larger cities in Montana has a tourism business improvement district that is citywide. This is a tax that is collected in the amount of $2 per occupied room night. That money is spent by the Tourism Business Improvement District to promote tourism, tourneys, tournaments, conferences, and otherwise get heads in the beds of the participating hotels that are in this district, which is citywide. The Downtown Business Improvement District was created in generally the downtown area. This district assists with things like the downtown police officer, the clean team that you see going around downtown Missoula. They assist with trash and rubbish removal and many other programs. The Downtown Master Plan is something that has been funded and successfully carried out by the Business Improvement District. So it's generally a district that revitalizes the downtown and helps to keep it vibrant. This district is administered by a board of trustees, and it and the TBID must be reauthorized every 10 years by the property owners in the district. And both of these districts were recently reauthorized. The work plan that was approved by City Council last week for the Business Improvement District was total $390,172.82. There is an exhibit attached to your agenda materials this evening that shows the amount that each property owner is liable for that is in this district that is attached to your agenda this evening. And I think I'll stop there. I should say that the Business Improvement District method of assessment is set in its foundational documents when the district was created. It is a flat fee plus a percentage of the taxable value for private parcels in the district. The city, county, and parking commission also have assessment formulas and pay into this district.
Thank you, Margie. All right, any public comment on this item? I'll look virtually to see if we've got anybody attending that way. All right, seeing no public comment, any questions from council? Ms. Vasi.
So all of these districts, are they just, they're not voluntarily to be in it? It's just a district that's an area that's around in the part of the city. And then so you can't opt out of it if you're in that district for any 4 of these. Is that correct?
Marty can help with this. Are you discussing the Business Improvement District?
That was my my first question, but then I kind of am lumping it in with all the other districts. A constituent asked me if like the Park District, the Road District, Tourism Business Improvement District, and the Downtown Business Improvement District, if they're voluntarily to be in them, or if it's just like if you're in a special improvement district, you're just located in that area, if that makes sense.
Marty, are you able to answer that? Otherwise, I think Dale was on the line also.
I can answer that. So when these districts were created, at least for the Tourism Business Improvement District and the Business Improvement District, City Council received a petition from property owners in the district to indicate that they wanted to be in, and they had to hit a threshold of, I can't remember what the statute says offhand, but a certain percentage of property owners in the district had to petition to create these districts. Then we sent out notice to the property owners that were proposed to be included in the district and observed a protest period during which there was 3 ways that each of the Tourism Business Improvement District and the Business Improvement District could be defeated. That was not the case. So these districts are created. They are lawful taxing districts, and it is not optional to pay the fees in them now that they have been established. With the Road and Park District, those districts were initiated by City Council during the creation process of both of those districts. Those are two districts are citywide districts. The city sent out notices to all of the property owners and observed a protest period. Likewise, there is a trigger in that statute where these districts could have been defeated, but they were not. And so they have been created, and participation in them via paying your taxes is not optional at this juncture. So the opportunity to protest the creation of these districts exists when they're created, or in the case of the business improvement district and the tourism business improvement district, when they have to be reauthorized every 10 years. But the annual assessments are not optional.
Marty, any other questions?
Nope, that was a very good explanation. Thank you.
Okay, and let me check online from any of our other counselors who are Zooming in. Okay, seeing no other questions, Mr. Hess for the motions, please.
Thank you. So I'll make all of these motions and I'd like to speak to them if that's okay.
Sure, we do go ahead and give the motion. We'll call for public comment and then we'll come back to you.
Okay.
All right.
So first I move that we adopt a resolution of the City Council of the City of Missoula, Montana, levying and assessing the lots and parcels within the City of Missoula Park District Number 1 in the amount of $7,202,828 for the costs associated with providing certain maintenance, purchasing, and improvement services in the fiscal year 2023 for city-owned facilities, land, and equipment under the responsibility and care of the City of Missoula Parks and Recreation Department, providing for a method of assessments and providing for other matters properly related thereto. Next, that we adopt a resolution of the City Council of the City of Missoula, Montana, levying and assessing the lots and parcels within the City of Missoula Road District Number 1 in the amount of $6,882,820 for the costs associated with providing certain maintenance, purchasing, and improvement services in fiscal year 2023 for city-owned facilities, land, and equipment under the responsibility and care of the City of Missoula Public Works and Mobility Department Street Division and Engineering Division, Central Services Vehicle Maintenance Division, providing for a method of assessments and providing for other matters properly relating thereto. Next, that we adopt a resolution levying annual assessments on the hotels located in the Tourism Business Improvement District of the City of Missoula for fiscal year 2023 in the amount of $2 per occupied room night in accordance with 7/12/1132 MCA. And finally, that we adopt a resolution levying taxes on the lots, pieces, and parcels of land located in the Downtown Business Improvement District of the City of Missoula for fiscal year 2023. And Ms. Rabine, there's a dollar amount missing in the recommended motion. Do you have that?
I do. It's $390,172.82.
In the amount of $390,172.82 in accordance with 7/12/1132 MCA.
Thank you. Any public comment on the motion, which is in order? And if you're virtual, you can raise a hand and I'll call on you. All right, seeing none, back to you, Mr. Hess, for comment.
Thanks. I want to, I guess, just we have a lot of people in attendance tonight, and I want to clarify that this is largely a housekeeping measure to levy the budgeted items that were finalized in our budget last week. The reason this came today versus last week was that we were waiting essentially for that budget to be adopted so that we had the final numbers to put into these resolutions. So this is kind of the final step of our budget process to adopt these resolutions now that we know what the actual assessments are. So straightforward, and I'll be in support of these motions.
Thank you. Any other comments from council on this item? Ms. Vasika.
While I did approve the budget last week, I do disagree with some things that are in the budget, and these levies, I voted against them last year, and I will continue on that and vote against them this year. I don't really like I guess I don't necessarily like the process of adding on another tax when it's not completely voluntary by everybody in the district, so that's why I'm not going to be supporting it tonight.
Thank you. Any other comments from council? Seeing none, if we can do votes, Ms. Rabine, I believe your recommendation was to do individual votes on each motion, correct?
You can do individual votes or on all four if you wish at a time, but if the votes are going to be different on each one, we probably should do it singly.
Ms. Vasika, do you want to separate out one or two items or
No, I'll
do
be
it all together?
I'll be consistent, so we can vote on them all together.
Okay. Anyone else want to separate out any of the items? Seeing none, we can do one vote on all items then.
Okay, so this is a roll call vote on the resolution for Park District number 1, Road District number 1, the Tourism Business Improvement District, and the Downtown Business Improvement District, all for fiscal year 23. On the motion, Jones,
Yes.
Nugent,
Yes.
Savage,
Yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Vasika, West,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Carlino,
No.
Contos,
No.
and Hess.
Yes.
Would any of you like to change your vote? That's 7 ayes, 3 nays, and 2 absent.
Thank you, Marty. We do not have any items under committee reports. We do have 2 items under new business. The first, 11.1, is Public Forum Missoula County Pallet Shelter. I'm not sure if we have anyone here to present briefly on this. It looks like we are setting a public forum hearing on September 12th, and we will be hearing this in Land Use and Planning Committee on September 7th. Mr. Hess, did you have any information to add to this item other than that we're just setting these dates?
I can speak to it briefly. So when an item, there was an attorney general's opinion in the 1980s that basically indicated that other units of government don't need to follow local zoning. So this is Missoula County that is proposing a project that does not meet our zoning. They do have to do a public forum, which is basically a public forum for them to hear from the public. And there was a recent state law change that brought these to City Council. So we've seen, this is the second one we've seen since that state law change in the 2021 legislature. We don't have any power to act on it, but it's basically just an opportunity. We can't say no to the project, but it's basically just an opportunity for the project to get some public for the public to be able to view the project. So this is coming before us for new business because there's a 30-day statutory timeline to get these done. And so this is why we're seeing it tonight. And then the primary presentation, public forum presentation, would just be on September 12th.
All right, thank you. Any questions from council regarding this item? I don't see any then. Any public comment on this item? And I would be looking, I don't see any public comments, so if I could have a motion, Mr. Hess.
I move we set a public hearing on September 12th, 2022 to provide a public forum and take public comment on an application from Missoula County to provide amenities for temporary and emergency shelter at 2340 Mullen Road through the temporary use emergency homeless shelter and group living uses, and refer this item to the Land Use and Planning Committee for a preview on September 7th, 2022. Per Title 20 zoning code, City Council must conduct this public forum, but has no power to deny, approve, or condition the proposed use.
Thank you. That motion is in order. Any public comment on this item? Seeing no public comment, any other questions or comments from council? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote to get the hearings set.
Nugent,
Yes.
Savage,
Yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Vasika,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Carlino,
Yes.
Contos,
Yes.
Hess,
Yes.
and Jones.
Yes.
Would any of you like to change your vote? That is 10 ayes and 2 absent.
Thank you. Okay, next item of business is 11.2, City Council appointment to fill the mayor vacancy. Tonight, the phase that we are in is nominating people who have given written applications, nominating them, elevating them to the next stage to be interviewed on September 7th. So tonight I will take public comment on this item. And then we will go to counselors who will name their nominees to be interviewed. Each counselor has the option of nominating one person. So before we start, is there any public comment on this item? If so, please come up and state your name and try and keep it to 3 minutes.
Hi, thanks. It's Maggie Bornstein for the record. I'm being vain. My teeth are not total.
It's on. It's on now.
Acting Mayor, I don't mean to interrupt Ms. Borenstein, but we can't hear her virtually.
All right, hang on a second. The switch is down. Okay, try it now.
Okay.
Okay, just start over and state your name. Can you go ahead and speak?
Sure. Again, my name is Maggie Bornstein for the record. In summary, people in this community, particularly women, are really still excited with what a fleet of wonderful candidates. Though I will say I've heard from a lot of women feeling like that there was a lack of representation in female applicants. And there's a number of reasons why we know that's true, like our society more broadly and culturally locally. And I would say a lot of it is really hard to manufacture out of a community, but I will say a lot of it is how we show up for women in our lives every single day. I've done youth mentorship to girls in our community. I have a little sister, and I encourage you all to implore the reasons why you're sitting here today and consider the people who encouraged you to put yourselves forward and take a chance on yourself, and think about maybe women in your life you can extend that gratitude and grace to, because it's missing. It shows it's missing, and yet we still have such a lovely field of candidates, and I don't want to negate that, but thanks so much.
Thank you. Anyone else that wants to provide public comment? Go ahead and step up.
My name is Kevin Hunt. I live at 308 Parkside Lane. I know I emailed all of you or most of you earlier today, and I'm sure you got so inundated with emails you probably even had a chance to look at it yet. But I'd like to suggest that because of certain perceptions in the community, whether they're accurate or not, I think it's very important that people who have experience and are qualified and who are not already sitting on the council be elevated to the next level. And I'm thinking of two people in particular. I'm thinking of Fred Rice, and I'm thinking of Patrick Weaselhead. My only concerns about Mr. Weaselhead, who I have a great amount of respect for, is his commitment to homeless outreach services. But through the interview process, that's something that can be expanded upon, clarified, and then from there, an intelligent decision can be made. I think what's really unfortunate, whether it's accurate or not, but I certainly trust my sources, is that there's certainly a very strong public perception that this entire process is perfunctory and pro forma, and that there are 6, if not 7 votes already predetermined and locked up for who is the eventual interim mayor is going to be. And I think to the extent that you try to disabuse us of this misconception, if it is a misconception, it will certainly suit you well in 2023 when people are up for election. If the public feels that in fact there was true consideration given this process isn't really perfunctory. I'd like to strongly encourage you to elevate Mr. Rice, who his application, aside from being of a very high quality, I think you're going to have a lot more credibility in what you do if you have someone who's not currently sitting among you, who takes the reins but has extensive experience and has served on this council before, is fair-minded, and isn't already the favorite pick of the majority that's censoring other people's questions and not adhering to the equality of members. Thank you.
Mana?
Hi, I'm Tegan Avery, and I want to say first off, thank you, Acting Mayor Jones and City Council, for all the hard work that you do. It does not go unnoticed, even though it might feel like it. I want to especially shout out the roundabouts going in on Mullen. In case you didn't get my email today, I want to introduce myself, and also for the benefit of the public, I'm Tegan Avery, one of the applicants for mayor. And just to let you know who I am, I'm a recent graduate of the University of Montana. I just got my master's of economics, and I'm what some people might call a certified nerd. And I became a certified nerd after spending a year researching and interning with the city of Missoula, focusing on affordable housing in Missoula, which I started as a 19-year-old. So therefore, a certified nerd. And I applied today to be the mayor to interview with you for mayor of Missoula, because I plan to use the knowledge from my research in the classroom and from my lived experience to guide Missoula towards a forward-looking, livable, lovable Missoula with evidence-backed policy. My economics training has revealed to me that the individual issues that Missoula encounters are a part of a system, whether that is housing, businesses, taxes, climate, transportation, schools, or public health, and that none of these problems can be solved in a vacuum. And I also seek to channel the energy of Missoulians, of city council, and of city staff towards planning for the future while living in the present and respecting the past. So I hope not to just speak at you, but to speak with you on September 7th in an interview, and to have a deeper dialogue about the things that I think I can contribute to this city and the passion that I have for this city through more than a note card speech, and explain why I love roundabouts so much. Thank you.
Any other public comment from anyone in the room? If anyone is attending virtually and they want to provide public comment, please raise your hand. I'll call on you. Not seeing any raised hands, and no other public comment in the room. So we will go forward with nominating people to be interviewed for the mayoral vacancy. I'm going to wait for our clerk to be all ready.
Okay,
all right.
so I have all of the names right here on the desk, and we're going to throw them in the hat as they get nominated. My family's in heavy construction, so I had this in the back of my car, and then we'll draw them out to determine the interview order. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so please raise your hand if you would like to nominate anyone. Ms. Cheryl.
Thanks, and I'm having trouble with my computer, so I know you can hear me, but I don't know for sure if you can see me. I first want to say that I really appreciate all the applicants, and this was a talented pool of people, so I really appreciate that. I am going to nominate Jordan Hess, and if I may speak to it, Mayor Jones?
Go ahead.
Okay. I think that this is a really big decision for us. I was elected to do what I believe is right for the city. I've been entrusted with that by my constituents, and I take that responsibility very seriously. I believe this is the time to appoint a candidate who we believe is the best applicant for our community right now. Beyond that, I believe in the democratic process, and next November, all our voters, and not just the 12 of us, will decide who our next mayor will be. I believe we need to appoint a mayor who has experience to step in as seamlessly as possible to keep the city running smoothly until that time. To me, this means having a deep, full understanding of our policies, our departments, our funding, and our staff. I believe this appointment needs to be needs to have a long-standing, trusting relationship with staff that's built on many years of experience. Jordan has been on the council for 9 years and was part of the development of many of the policies we currently operate under. He is our vice president of council and has chaired our land use and planning committee for many years, which if any of you watch those committee meetings, they are very technically challenging committees and they are the most controversial usually. Jordan is not always the loudest in the room, but he is many times the most thoughtful and insightful. If you look back at past meetings, many of us have said at some point in time how much we hate speaking after him, myself included. This is because he is able to take complex issues with many sides and articulate them clearly and thoughtfully. He's able to consider public concerns as well as input from counselors he doesn't agree with to frame his opinion. As I said, I have read all of the applications and there are a lot of really talented people who applied. I am nominating Jordan because I don't think any of those applicants have the level of experience in municipal government, understanding of our policies and funding, or the trust and relationships in our staff. But I do want to say that I really, really appreciate the quality of the applications that we received. But I do think that all of those things for an appointment from this body are really important. That being said, I know we will have the opportunity to interview many other candidates, and I am going to look forward to doing that. But my nomination is Councilman Hess.
Thank you. Next, we have Jennifer Savage.
Hi, everyone. I am in an airport, one of the busiest airports in the world, actually, and so it's a little hard to speak, but I would like to nominate Mike Nugent, and I feel like it would be a disservice to Mike for me to try and speak to his candidacy right now, and hoping I would get an opportunity to do that later, but I just want to make sure that he's nominated.
Righty, that does sound like a busy airport. Thank you. Stacy Anderson.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Jones. I would like to nominate Patrick Weaselhead. And to quickly speak to that, I think that he brings a diverse lived experience as well as previous council experience, and I think would benefit from having a deeper conversation with him outside of just his application.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Carlino.
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Tegan Avery for the mayor interview. I think it'd be important to have a young person's voice and somebody who understands the urgency of the issues, and also to have at least one applicant who's not a man for the job, that's been held by a man this entire time up until acting Mayor Gwen Jones. But I also think I was really impressed with Ms. Avery's application and her research on the issues with housing. And I'd like to hear more from all the applicants. I think it would actually be a great service to the community to hear from all the people that applied and allow a public interview for as many people as possible. And even a candidate forum, I think, would be great. But yeah.
Thank you. Any other nominations? Any other hands raised? Let me check online. Ms. Vasika.
Oh, there we go. Thank you. I also looked at all the applications and was very, very impressed. There were ranges of backgrounds, ranges of ages, ranges of amount of time in Missoula, and I gotta say, it was really interesting reading all the applications and seeing all the answers. As many of you know, I did endorse Jacob Elder in his mayoral campaign last year, and while I have not made a decision yet, because that would not be unfair to the applicants and to the interviewees, I would like to see him move forward, and I would like to see him interview with all the counselors, and I am excited to see the entire interview process before we all make a decision. It's a lot of pressure to be put on 12 people to decide the next interim mayor of Missoula, while when it usually is elected by all the voters in Missoula. So it's tremendous amount of pressure for us, and I'm not taking this lightly, but I do want to see how I want to see him move forward. His values, the majority of his values do align with mine. A lot of his political leanings do align with mine, and I like how he doesn't seem to be too far left, too far right. He seems to be very much of a moderate, and I like that. And I would like to see that in our mayor. So I will be nominating Jacob Elder to the interview process.
Thank you. And Ms. West.
I think this was one of the saddest and hardest exercises I've ever gone through. And I think there were lots of really awesome candidates here. And I think I want to add Fred Rice to the list of interviewees. I think his resume is pretty impressive, and I would like to hear more from him. I guess, is that next week? Next week.
All right. Any other raised hands to nominate? And I'm looking online. Going on. All right. So we will close nominations. And Ms. Rabine, would you like to choose the order in which we have? I believe we have 6 interviews.
I'm going to hold it and have Mr. Hunt draw.
All right.
Hello.
I'm just now having some narcolepsy.
Okay.
I can't raise my hand, unfortunately.
Jacob Elder's the one first. Let me mark that down. Jacob Elder, we'll see you at 9 a.m. Jordan Hess. So we have Jacob Elder interviewing first. Jordan Hess will be interviewing second. I'll go to the center. Fred Rice will be interviewing third. Tegan Avery will be interviewing fourth. Two more. Okay, Mike Nugent's going to be interviewing fifth. And there's only one more name in the hat, so I'll draw that one. And then, of course, is Patrick Weaselhead. So our interview order be Jacob Elder, Jordan Hess, Fred Rice, Tegan Avery, Mike Nugent, Patrick Weaselhead will be doing 6 interviews on September 7th. Interviews start at 9 a.m. And we'll be talking about questions this coming Wednesday. It's my understanding that we'll establish the length of the interviews based on the number of questions that we ask, yes?
Yes, and I had a communication from the League of Women Voters. They'll be running the interviews, so I'll communicate with them regarding timing and how long per interview, but we're looking probably at between 45 to 50 minutes per interview, but we'll finalize it with the amount of questions that we have and have very specific start times for everyone so that they can be here.
Yes.
And it will be in chambers in person.
So the city clerk office will update our website to indicate which of these folks who applied have made it through for the interviews and the interview order. And we'll provide the notice of the update on our committee schedule. That'll probably be reissued this Friday. Good luck to the folks who applied, and thank you, or to the folks who are interviewing, and thank you to all the people who applied. It's always gratifying to see we have a lot of people who are willing to serve our community. It was really big shoes to fill.
Thank you, Marty. Thank you, everyone, for your participation in this. And I think we've got the process queued up. To wrap up this meeting, I will pass on communications from the mayor, but we'll go to general comments from council members. And Sandra, I'll start with you on your end.
Thank you. This weekend is Labor Day weekend. Labor Day is a holiday that pays tribute to contributions and achievements of American workers. And it was created by the labor movement in the late 19th century and became a federal holiday in 1894. That's why you have Monday off for most folks. And I hope that you all enjoy what I think is the end of summer and have a safe holiday weekend, drive safe, play safe, but have fun.
Thank you, Ms. Cheryl.
Yeah, thanks. On the safety front, I just want to add a reminder to everyone driving around town that school starts on Wednesday, and it really, in my neighborhood, that really changes the flow of traffic. And it really changes how many kids are on their bikes and walking. And I think it's important that, especially those of us that don't have kids getting ready to go to school, that they be reminded about that.
Mr. Hess.
I'm grateful for everyone's pulling together within the community, within city staff, in what's a really challenging time for our city with the loss of Mayor Engen. And I'm just grateful for for the outpourings of support and for the kindness and thoughtfulness of so many in our community.
Mr. Carlino.
Yeah, I just want to encourage all the mayor applicants that didn't make it to an interview or didn't make it to the interview to consider running for city council next year or consider running for mayor next year. I wish we could interview you all, but unfortunately, the rules are rules, I suppose. But definitely consider running. I think anybody is qualified to run for local office here in Missoula, and we should encourage everybody to run. And I want to just speak to Mr. Seymour's comments earlier about the Front Street homes. Yeah, those 5 units are going to have to be vacated, and it's going to be torn down for luxury condos here soon. And not to say that we could have stopped that as a council, but I think if we had sent it back to committee and delayed it, people would still have their home a few days from now.
Mr. Nugent.
Thank you. I would just echo Councilman Carlino's comments about thanking everybody for applying. I know this is a very unusual situation, and it's an unusual way to fill a vacancy. But I think one thing Councilman Carlino said was that young or old, you're allowed to be involved in your government, and those are the rules. And I think it's great that we saw so many people who threw in their names.
Mr. Contos.
I'll pass.
Ms. West.
Last weekend was River City Roots Festival, and I just want to thank everyone who had a hand in pulling that event off. It was pretty awesome. So thanks to everyone who put in a lot of hard work.
Ms. Savage, if you're able to hear us.
I'll pass.
Ms. Anderson.
I will pass as well.
All right, thank you, everyone. We have no miscellaneous communications reports or announcements, so we will stand adjourned.